It's a conversation that dominated a lot of the offseason dialogue. CJ Stroud versus Bryce Young. So far, so good for the Texans. We'll hear from each of those guys heading into their matchup. Plus, we'll hear from head coach Frank Reich on whether he thinks that he made the right decision and if he actually wanted CJ Stroud. Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room.
Welcome to the locker room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app. We've been talking about the matchup for a while. We finally get to see it. CJ Stroud versus Bryce Young. We've been watching from a distance indirectly. Right now, CJ Stroud by far has the upper hand, but it was a popular dialogue leading up to. I was a Bryce Young guy. I think a lot of people were Bryce Young guys, but so far, I mean, it's hard to deny that CJ Stroud has gotten off to the better start. His team sits at 3-3. Carolina Panthers winless, and there's a lot of questions to be asked from Bryce Young, from Frank Reich, and from CJ Stroud. Let's start this off with a little bit of interesting tension. There have been reports, and this always happens when someone ends up looking better than others that were drafted in front of him. Bill Polian had a first-round grade on Tom Brady. I wanted this guy. I wanted that guy, so on and so forth. There have been reports that maybe Frank Reich wanted CJ Stroud instead of Bryce Young. And he was actually asked that, and it got a little bit tense. Let's hear from Frank Reich, a guy we know very well around here from all his days with the Colts. Let's hear Frank Reich being grilled about whether or not he wanted CJ Stroud rather than Bryce Young.
I think there's a lot of people wondering, do you still feel like you made the right decision by taking Bryce number one? And if so, why?
Yeah. I mean, we got the guy we wanted to get, and couldn't be happier about that in every way. And I would say this, I'm happy for CJ, that he's had 6 good games. And I have no doubt he'll have many more good games. But I know this, when it comes to evaluating quarterbacks or any position, it's years, not weeks. You can't put a label on a guy after 6 weeks or even a year. I've seen guys have Pro Bowl seasons and then a year later fighting to be a backup somewhere else. I mean, it's a crazy league. What you're looking for and what we're looking for, not just from our quarterback, but in every position, is sustained success at a high level for a very long time. And you can't measure it in weeks.
Right. On that, I think during the pre-draft process, there were a lot of people, and you've addressed this before, but that thought you were in Stroud's camp because of the big size.
Joe Person.
Big quarterback guy. Could you address that again now that you guys are getting ready to play him?
I've never said that to one person, anytime, anywhere. I always said I like CJ Stroud a lot. I like all those. I've said this many times. I like that whole quarterback draft. I think they were all really good prospects. I think they're all going to have really good NFL careers. My eyes and our eyes were on Bryce Young, and from start to finish. You look at the film, you talk to the man, you get a sense for the leader, the player, and what he is and what he can be and how he fits to what we want to do and the vision that we have as an offense, as a team, and as an organization. We got the guy for us. And I'm sure Houston feels they got the guy for them. That's great. I mean, I think it's great for the NFL. It's great for our two guys. I think we're both very happy with where we're at and the direction we're going.
Okay. Now, props to Joe for asking the question. Now, he did say, I never said that to anyone. I was with Bryce from beginning to end. And look, I think most people, if they're being honest, had Bryce above CJ. Now, a lot of people won't want to admit that now, and rightfully so. So far, CJ has the nod, and CJ, just the intangibles and everything else, they're through the roof. But that's crazy that Frank Reich's having to go up there during this game week and answer those questions. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. Another thing about this game that I find really interesting is at the start of the season, when you knew you were going to play CJ Stroud was going to play Bryce Young. This was one of the first games you looked at. It was one of the first games you looked to and said, man, when are they going to play? When's it going on? And now we've gotten to the point where not everyone, but some people are almost overlooking this and not as excited as they originally would have been. And I really don't get it. I don't know how, if you've followed the Texans for the last 3 years, and I've had to spend 35, 40% of the dialogue that I use when I'm awake on this team, covering this team, talking about this team, no days off, no tap outs, no need to step away, none of that. I'm enjoying every single game. And this game to me is one of the marquee games of the season. D'Amico Ryans was asked about a potential look ahead at his media availability. And if that's the case, like if anyone in their right mind, whether you're a fan, whether you're a player or anything, is looking past anyone, especially in this league, you're making a massive, massive mistake. I still think this is the marquee game. I know Carolina has it marked because they want some sort of vindication, on-field vindication. And I do think Frank Reich was right. Like it's early on in the season. Look at the Tua Herbert seesaw that they've been on. Look at the early RG3 start with Andrew Luck, although Andrew had a good season. It's really, really early in the process. But I will say this, whether I was a Bryce guy or not, I'm happy with the guy the Texans got. And regardless of how stuff turns out, when you hear CJ Stroud talk, which we're gonna do in a second, you just want to ride and die with the guy. You just want to ride and die with the guy. There's the natural humility. There's the intangibles. You can see it with his teammates. A lot of his weaknesses or strengths early on, that's a sign of hard work. And you just kind of want to ride and die with him. I mean, the bussing with the boys, Taylor Lewan and Will Compton, they were all about CJ. College game day guys, they were all about him. It's impossible not to be when he speaks. Let's hear him now breaking down Bryce media availability.
That's my brother, man. Somebody I have a lot of respect for. Known him since like middle school. Got really close probably after high school, and always rooting for him. I know he's always rooting for me. So.
Do you remember when you guys first met and what made it where you only to be friends?
I don't even think we were friends at the time, but we played each other in the 7th grade or the 8th grade, one of the two, and they killed us like terribly. Like he played for the IE Ducks, I played for the Pomona Valley Steelers, and they put it to us. And I remember we played in the rain. He had a really good game. I played terrible. So this will be, I think, our second time playing each other, I believe. And we played each other a couple times, 7-on-7, in high school. So, yeah, I think that was the first time we met.
You always have that middle school game or whatever that you remember in depth.
Just as a quick follow-up, after knowing him for so long and being friends with him for a few years, how cool is it to be, facing off against him, being the top 2 picks in an NFL game now?
It's cool. Yeah, it's really cool. It's a blessing to just know that we're from the same area. Grew up knowing each other, and then our parents know each other. Our moms are really close. Our dads know each other, and it's cool just to see somebody as their journey has gone from high school to college and now into the league, and it's a blessing to have a brother like that to go through the same type of struggle, the same type of pressures and things like that. So we talk a lot about that stuff in the off season and things like that. So it's a blessing to have somebody like that in my life.
You said you played 7-on-7 together. What about 1-on-1 though?
Yeah, that's a great question. We group all the time. Bryce is somebody that because we go with our quarterback trainer, we train with the same people in the off season. So our trainers tell us not to guard each other because we get too competitive. Because it gets crazy. He'll get me a day on the day, I'll get him on the next. So it's very back and forth. So no, he can hoop though for sure.
You had a number of honors and awards. He's a fan of the game. To see Wall when it came, what was that like for you to see that honor in 6 games?
It's cool. I really don't think about it much. Yeah, I just try to stay even killed on to the next. But you have to celebrate those small victories and those things because I do work hard and on certain things like that. But it's never on the front of my mind. Actually, Dylan Thompson, our player development guy, does a really good job of just he sends me like scriptures. He sends me like certain sermons and like little quotes to like always keep you level headed. So he helped me out a lot with stuff like that. So I'll try not to think about it too much, but at the same time, be grateful for it. He's quick, man. Like you can
Talking
see it
about
on the
Bryce
field.
Young's
Like he's super
basketball.
quick. He has a really good jump shot. He knows how to create space. He's a sneaky like fouler. Like so, he'll like hand check you, and when you try to go up, like he'll just move his hand. So you think his hand will be there, you'll get the
Man,
foul
I hate those kind
and
of
like throw
guys.
your jump shot off. He talks a little bit, so a little bit of everything. But nah, he might be small, but he's pretty strong. He's low to the ground, so he's able to kind of hand check you and keep you in line when you're going to the basket. But I try to put him in the post, and sometimes that doesn't even work. So we often are just going. He has a really good handle, and I have a decent handle too. So like that's usually where we try to get each other. Oh, it was cool.
Talking
I
about
had a
college
good
game day.
time just being back up there in Columbus with some teammates and being on set with Kirk and them. And I think that was one of my first time doing like a live analyzation of like what's going on in those games and trying to analyze those. And I think I tried to do my best and just try to get some insight on like what it is to be the quarterback of that team going against the other team or whatever. So it was a good time.
Staying with that, obviously what's happening with Michigan, this video of you in the game last year, you go away from you referenced your sideline, Michigan staffer is apparently maybe sign stealing.
Oh, they're asking about sign stealing.
Like that, did you guys feel like there was something funny? And I guess what is your reaction to what's been happening?
Jeez.
I don't know what's going on. That's my first time hearing that. Yeah, I don't really. Man, it's in my past life. Like, I ain't got nothing. Like, I'm not that type of person to go back and be like, oh, they did that. They like they beat us. It is what it is. I'm not super happy with that, but like, man, I'm in the NFL now. Like, I'm not worried about what happened in college. But we had an idea on maybe if that stuff was going on, but man, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I'm not here to go back and forth with that. I'm a Texan now, and it is what it is. I'm not tripping off that.
As far as being a rookie quarterback, it's never easy for anyone. Bryce has had a tough time, I guess many would say. Have you communicated with him throughout the season? Seems like you're a positive guy, maybe helping him along. Is there?
I don't honestly and personally watching the film and watching every game of his. I don't think he in any way, aspect, or form he's playing bad. That's what people think if you're not winning or like you have a turnover here and there. Bryce is playing some really good football. So I just don't think people watch in depth. Like if you're a quarterback, so I think he's playing really well. Of course, like it's always things you can clean up. I can clean up a lot of things, and I'm not here to be his coach or be that or be that. I'm here just to support. So we texted a couple weeks ago, just checking in on each other, and it was nothing about football. That's not our relationship. So, but personally, I think he's playing good, and I think he'll continue to be great in this game because he has that swagger and that mentality and that type of playing style. So.
All right, there you go. So he thinks that Bryce is playing good, and that's his buddy. I don't think he would say he sucked if he was sucking. Interesting. He got asked about the Michigan sign stealing thing. Kind of said that he had a little bit of idea, but he was kind of moving past it. That's interesting. That's really interesting. I could see that making the internet rounds for sure. Discussing CJ Stroud versus Bryce Young, Volume 1 NFL level, not 7th grade football or 7th grade basketball or anything like that. Volume 1. We've heard from CJ Stroud. He's had nice things to say about Bryce. We've heard from Frank Reich. He is adamant that he always wanted Bryce Young from the beginning. Let's hear from the number 1 overall pick, Bryce Young, on CJ Stroud. We're going to hear Bryce discuss his relationship with CJ Stroud. Then we're going to talk about whether or not he had this circled and if the competitiveness has him kind of, I don't know how they're going to word it. Are they going to ask him if he's jealous? Let's find out.
I've known CJ since middle school. It was about the time we met. Probably we played against each other in basketball, honestly, before even football. Played against him in 8th grade then, always going to the same camps and stuff. Have a lot of mutual friends as well. But I've, just been around him, known him probably since like since middle school, and then throughout high school, throughout the recruiting process and throughout college, I've been close, and yeah, I've talked to him just throughout the process and season. I talked to him, and just that's someone that again I'm really close with. Really great person, really great human being. First and foremost, just a really great dude, great family, and then obviously great player as well. Has been doing a lot of great things. Yeah, I have we're really close and have a ton of respect for him, and that's grown not just from this year, but just throughout, for a while now.
Did you ever imagine, like when you're playing 8th grade middle school basketball, that you two guys would be the 1-2 picks in the NFL draft?
Yeah, it's pretty surreal. God is good for sure. It's definitely a blessing, but it's crazy, Yeah, that definitely wasn't something that was something that either one of us probably could have really thought about or fathomed back then. But it's crazy how things have turned out. So it's definitely a blessing.
Right.
To be able to share the field with.
All right, now this is where it's going to get real interesting, and this is where the media availability gets crazy. So Bryce Young gets asked about why he's smiling so much and if he has this circled, and then he's going to get asked about basically whether or not he's jealous indirectly of what's going on with CJ, or competitive, I should say.
A lot of people I'm close with.
I don't think I've seen you smile in an interview this much ever. I mean, you're clearly very excited about this matchup. Did you have this circled on your calendar?
Again, honestly, it's just really, again, just thinking about it. It hasn't been something that I thought about a lot. It's just now that I guess we're talking about it, it's cool. There's a lot of people there's a lot of people on that team that I'm really close with. A lot of people from Alabama, people I know outside there that and again, it's just it's just cool just again to see people being able to play at the highest level, have success. I'm super happy for them. Again, it still is surreal, and throughout the week and when we're practicing and on game days and watching film, it's all it's business, and it's still the same process. It's still just trying to make sure we can do everything we can to put ourselves in the best situation throughout the week. But I just right now, I guess since we're asking all the questions, just thinking about it, it's pretty cool. But I think just the actual football part and the work part, you just have to approach it like any week.
Back to one question about CJ. I mean, I know you've said in the past you want to see him do well. I mean, he's your friend, and at the same time, is there a little bit of competitiveness? I mean, the comparisons between the two are always going to be inevitable because you wanted to. I mean, so do you ever look at it and go, this kind of motivates me a little bit, when you see him doing well, and then does it motivate you at all?
I'm personally, I've just always been big on trying to control what I can control, and what other people just throughout, in all aspects of life, what other people do. It's not really something I can control. So I try to be, just internally motivated and draw from that and try to run my own race and, try to be the best version I can and focus on the stuff that I can control and stuff that I can improve on. And, there's never going to be a time that I'm not rooting for CJ, I guess, outside of, I guess obviously I guess maybe this weekend will be the exception, but, there's never gonna be a time that, that's just, that's, and I think, don't speak for CJ, but I think the same way, like we just, we both want what's best for each other. We both want, we both want each other to be successful. So it's for me, again, I try to be internally motivated, run my own race and just try to focus on myself. But, with CJ, with all the guys that I know, I'm always going to be rooting for them, always going to want what's best for them. And, I don't really, I'm always going to, that's kind of just something I'm always going to carry. So I kind of just look for myself when it comes to motivations, things like that.
Okay. But you want to bust his ass this week. Let's be honest. You want to bust his ass this week. And the other thing about this is regardless of the why, regardless of the variables, regardless of how early it is, CJ Stroud right now, 6 games into their NFL careers, he has a significant lead in that race. How long will it last? Will the lead expand or the gap be closed on Sunday? I can't wait to find out. Don't let anyone minimize this game. This was the biggest one before the season. It's just as big now. The success makes it even bigger. It doesn't make it something that you're going to look over. Please subscribe, like, right along. It is the Locker Room, #1 source for Texans daily digital content. Tomorrow, a player straight off of the practice field, per the usual, on In the Loop on Sports Radio 610. We're a couple days away from the game. We are back in the swing of things for bye week. Live stream coming tonight and tomorrow night. Thanks for coming through. No matter what happens when it comes to this Texan stuff, though, we're all in it together. Appreciate you for rolling up.
Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time.